Now, this is not the be all and end all of guidelines, because everybody is different. Everybody's body is different. Some people don't tolerate gluten very well. Some people don't tolerate dairy very well. So you really need to work on what is right for you. But what's beneficial about this, and I'm going to send it to you in the notes, is that you can scroll on down through. It's many pages long. You can see it's 164 pages of information. Now, lots of that would be information that wouldn't necessarily apply to us, pregnant women and babies and so on. But the things that apply to us will be in the table of contents, and you can easily find your section. But what I want to skip down to is the area where we're looking at the, let me do it this way, nutrition that we are to be getting as people of our age group. So if you're looking at across the top, we're seeing male and female, and right in here, we're 51 and older female, and over here is 51 and older male. And we can see that as females, we should be getting somewhere on average about 1,800 calories a day. For men, it's about 2,000 calories a day. So there's a starting point. And then out of that 2,000 calories, we have to paint this picture of a healthy plate that includes certain macronutrients. And there are 3 macronutrients. Those are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And within each of those categories are a few other things as well that we'll talk about. So when it comes to protein, there are some numbers here for you to remember. And if you have a piece of paper, you can write these down, or you can just simply come back to this table, this A12 table. But when it comes to protein, if you're a female, your protein allotment for the day is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 46 grams of protein, 46 grams. If you're a male, Thomas, for you, it would be 56. So protein comes from meat. What are the other sources of protein that we know? We heard some of them in the Impossible Burger.
Cheese.
What was that?
Vegetable protein or animal protein?
It could, do we have vegetable proteins? Yeah, it could be vegetable proteins like what?
Beans.
Beans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And grains. Now, there's something for us to consider when it comes to vegetable protein. Proteins are made up of something called amino acids. And there are 9 of those that are essential to us because we don't make them in our bodies. Beans have 8 out of the 9. So for a bean dish to be a complete protein, to be a substitute for meat, you would want to add something else like rice, which would have that other essential amino acid. Another protein that is a complete protein like meat is quinoa. So I talked about that class I taught yesterday. Quinoa is a really great addition to a healthy diet, and it is really inexpensive. You can buy organic quinoa and you can make the most delicious salads and the most delicious vegetable burgers out of quinoa. And so those are a couple of protein sources. Soy protein is another option. Personally, and I am speaking personally, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist, but I am a person who looks after their health, and I've done some of my own research, and I choose to stay away from soy. And I do that because the soy that's grown in this country that we eat is generally genetically modified. It's generally not organic, oftentimes when it's broken down, unless it's in a package that says specifically that it's organic. But it's mostly used as filler for things that are added as a product or an ingredient in a lot of products that we buy. So I try to avoid that for that reason, and because it also has phytoestrogens. So it can, when eating a great deal of soy or tofu, that sort of thing, it can affect a woman's estrogen levels. And so that can be something you would want to perhaps take a look at. So protein, 46 and 56 grams. And then that's one macronutrient. The second is carbohydrates. And there are three types of carbohydrates, I'd say. There are simple carbohydrates. That would be something like white flour or white sugar. And those are empty calories. So when we eat a piece of white bread, we get virtually no nutritional benefit from that. What we get is a real hit to our insulin response. Our pancreas jumps into action and puts insulin out so that it can digest the sugar that's generated from that flour. Basic flour like that breaks down into sugar very rapidly. Same thing with table sugar, no nutritional value. So these are empty calories. And so simple carbohydrates generally are not the things that we want to eat. We want to get things called complex carbohydrates. So when we eat whole grain breads, we get the whole grain in the bread, not just what is called the endosperm of the bread. The endosperm of the bread is used to make white bread. It has no nutritional value. The rest of the bread contains the bran and the germ and the important vitamins and minerals in that. So eating whole grain, and even better yet, sprouted grain bread is very good for you. So there are a couple of sprouted grain breads out there that I like. One is Alvarado Street Bakery from California, if you have ever heard of that one. And the other one is Ezekiel bread. I know that Bob's Killer Bread also makes a sprouted grain. It has a little bit of added sugar in it. So it's not my favorite.
Isn't that Dave's Killer Bread?
Dave's Killer Bread. What did I say? Bob's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bob's Red Mill.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thanks for correcting me on that. That was good. So yes, whole grains would be important. Whole grains like brown rice, because the white rice is also devoid of that nutrition because they've stripped away an important part of that whole grain. So brown rice is very helpful. And what is contained within whole grain, in addition to all the vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, is fiber. So fiber is what helps keep things moving. It helps us keep our vessels clean, our digestive system clean, and we need it. Now let's look at carbohydrates